The studio froze. Jasmine Crockett's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Mr. Trump, you're not just unfit, you're dangerous. And deep down, you know it." For a split second, Donald Trump didn't speak. His mouth twitched, eyes narrowing as if searching for words to strike back. But Jasmine didn't flinch. Her gaze locked on his like steel. The hosts exchanged panicked glances. A producer whispered frantically into an earpiece. Cameras zoomed in, catching every detail of Trump's reddening face. Then, boom! Trump slammed his hand on the table. "You're a disgrace, low IQ. You shouldn't even be—" But Jasmine raised her hand, stopping him cold. "No, I won't let you bully me like you do everyone else. The American people deserve better." A collective gasp rippled through the audience. And just as Trump opened his mouth to fire back, the feed flickered. "Wait, are we still live?" a host whispered. Cut. 10 minutes earlier, Jasmine had felt her heart pounding as she walked into the studio. She knew the risks. Trump was unpredictable, and his base was watching. But she couldn't stay silent anymore. Families at the border torn apart. Women stripped of rights. Democracy hanging by a thread. "I'm not here to play nice," she whispered to herself, clutching her notes. "I'm here to speak truth." Across the table, Trump smirked as cameras rolled. "You ready for your 5 minutes of fame, Crockett? I hope you rehearsed." Jasmine didn't answer. She'd rehearsed nothing. Only her raw anger and pain carried her here. The host welcomed viewers back from commercial. Joining us now, former President Donald Trump and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett for a spirited discussion. The lights blazed. The cameras blinked red. And as the first question hit the air, Jasmine took a deep breath. This wasn't just a debate. This was war. But no one, not even she, could predict how far Trump would go to silence her. "Congresswoman Crockett," the host began, "you've called Mr. Trump's recent actions a threat to democracy. Can you clarify?" Jasmine leaned forward, her voice calm but laced with fire. "Yes. When a man attacks our institutions, undermines elections, and stirs violence, what else do you call it? Leadership?" Trump scoffed loudly. "You're a joke. Dangerous? Me? Lady, you're the dangerous one, spreading lies to cover your party's failures." But his voice cracked slightly at the word dangerous. The cameras didn't miss it, neither did Jasmine. "Mr. Trump, you spent years making people afraid of others. Immigrants, women, minorities. But today, it's you who's afraid." Trump's face reddened. "Afraid of what? You?" His voice rose, shaky now. "You don't know who you're talking to." And then, he snapped. "You'll regret this. Mark my words." The audience gasped. The host cut to commercial, but it was too late. Millions were already screen recording the exchange, posting it with one caption. Did Trump just threaten her? By the time the commercial break ended, Twitter was already on fire. Trump meltdown was trending worldwide. Clips of Jasmine's ice-cold stare paired with Trump's angry outburst had already been memed, remixed, and shared millions of times. Inside the studio, the tension was thick enough to choke on. Trump leaned toward a producer, whispering furiously. Jasmine, meanwhile, sat still, her fingers trembling under the table. She checked her phone. 200 new notifications. Death threats, praise, memes, journalists begging for interviews. But one message stopped her cold. "You've gone too far this time. Watch your back." She looked up just as the host counted down. 3, 2, 1. We're live again. Trump's eyes burned into hers. "This ends now," he growled, his voice low enough that only she could hear. For the first time tonight, Jasmine felt a flicker of fear. As Trump launched into a tirade about fake news and witch hunts, Jasmine's mind drifted for a split second to her father. She was 14 when she'd first watched him confront a corrupt mayor at a community meeting in Dallas. He hadn't raised his voice. He didn't curse. He simply stood his ground. Courage, he'd told her afterward, is saying what's right even when your knees are shaking. Now her knees were shaking, but her voice couldn't. You keep blaming everyone else for your failures, she interrupted sharply, pulling herself back to the present. You've left a trail of broken promises and broken people, and still, you think you deserve to lead again? Trump froze mid-sentence. For a second he looked almost vulnerable. But the moment passed. His fists clenched. You'll regret saying that, he spat. The audience murmured. The host tried to intervene, but Jasmine knew something had shifted. When the show ended, Jasmine slipped out a side door. Her phone vibrated nonstop. As she reached her car, a black SUV screeched to a halt nearby. A man in a baseball cap leaned out the window. You're a disgrace to this country, he shouted, throwing a crumpled paper toward her. It landed at her feet, written in thick black marker. Tread carefully, or else. She looked up, but the SUV was gone. Her hands trembled as she picked up the note. For the first time tonight, Jasmine questioned if she'd made a mistake going head-to-head with Trump. But then her father's words echoed in her mind, even when your knees are shaking. She tightened her grip on the paper and whispered, I'm not backing down. In a dimly lit room at Mar-a-Lago, Trump slammed his fist onto the table. She humiliated me, on live TV, me. His advisors exchanged nervous glances. She's just trying to make a name for herself, one offered cautiously. If you ignore her... Ignore her? Trump roared. She called me dangerous. She's dangerous. She's stirring up my base against me. She needs to be taught a lesson. His phone buzzed with a message from an ally in Congress. Want me to leak her personal info? That'll shut her up. Trump smirked. No, not yet. Let's make her sweat first. Meanwhile, Jasmine sat in her kitchen, staring at the crumpled threat note. Her phone vibrated again. This time it wasn't a stranger. It was her mother. Jess. Is it true? Are they threatening you? Jasmine tried to sound strong. I'll be fine, Mom. I promise. But deep down, she wasn't sure. The next morning, Jasmine's mother showed up at her door, unannounced. Baby, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that man's face on TV, red with anger, pointing at you like you weren't even human. Jasmine tried to hug her, but her mother clung tighter than usual. You don't have to fight this fight alone, she whispered. They play dirty, Jazz. Please, don't let them destroy you. But Jasmine's eyes were dry, her voice steady. Mom, I'm not fighting for me. I'm fighting for the people he hurt. If I back down, who will stand for them? Her mother shook her head, tears streaming. Just promise me one thing. If it gets too dangerous, you'll walk away. Jasmine didn't answer, because in her heart she already knew. She wouldn't walk away. Not now. Not ever. That afternoon, Jasmine's phone lit up with a flurry of alerts. Her private address, her mother's phone number, photos of her home, all posted online. She froze as she read the captions. Here's where the real danger lives. Patriots pay her a visit. A knock at the door made her jump. It was her aide, pale and breathless. Congresswoman, there's a protest forming outside. MAGA hats, flags. They're chanting your name. Jasmine's stomach knotted. This wasn't just online harassment anymore. This was real. She peered through the blinds. Dozens of people stood on her lawn, shouting. Some held signs, others held something else. Her aide whispered, terrified, "What do we do now?" Jasmine took a shaky breath. "We don't hide." But even as she said it, her hands wouldn't stop trembling. The chants outside grew louder. "Lock her up! Lock her up!" Jasmine watched from the window as a man in a red hat lit a flare and threw it onto her lawn. Flames licked at the grass, smoke curling toward her porch. Her aide grabbed her arm. "Congresswoman, we have to call the police. Now." Jasmine's phone buzzed again, this time a tweet from Trump himself. "Crockett is learning actions have consequences. Sad." The message sent her stomach plummeting. This wasn't just his supporters. This was him, fueling the fire. Sirens wailed in the distance, but Jasmine's hands refused to stop shaking. She whispered to no one in particular, "How much more do I have to take before they destroy everything?" Her phone buzzed one more time. A text from an unknown number. "Next time, it won't be your lawn." By morning, her home was cordoned off with police tape. News vans parked along her street, cameras pointed like rifles. On social media, the country had split in two. Our Stand with Crockett trended alongside "Crockett is the threat." In the heart of Dallas, protesters and counter-protesters clashed, shouting across barricades. At Jasmine's local church, neighbors gathered to pray for her safety. One elderly woman, clutching her Bible, spoke to a reporter. "She's our voice, and if they silence her, they silence all of us." But inside her darkened home, Jasmine sat alone. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. "Promise me you'll walk away if it gets too dangerous." She looked down at her trembling hands and whispered back, "I can't, Mom. Not yet." That night, Jasmine's phone rang, a blocked number. She almost let it go to voicemail, but something told her to answer. "Hello?" A deep voice crackled on the line. "Enjoy your last few days, Crockett. You won't see the end of this." The line went dead. Jasmine dropped the phone, her chest tightening. She couldn't breathe. Her aide rushed in, holding an envelope. "Congresswoman, this just arrived." Inside was a single photo, her mother, leaving the grocery store, a red cross drawn over her face. Jasmine felt her knees buckle. For the first time, the unthinkable entered her mind. Was this fight worth the cost? Jasmine stared at the photo of her mother with the red cross. Her heart pounded like a war drum. She locked the doors, closed the curtains, and slumped to the floor. For the first time since this began, she let herself sob. Her aide sat beside her. "You don't have to keep fighting, Jasmine. No one would blame you for stepping back." But Jasmine shook her head, tears streaking her face. "That's what they want. They don't just want my silence. They want every woman, every immigrant, every little girl watching to think this is what happens when you speak truth." Her phone buzzed again. This time, a message from her church pastor. "The community is behind you. Speak your truth. We'll protect you." Jasmine wiped her tears. She stood slowly, her voice trembling but steady. "Call a press conference. Tonight. I'm done hiding." Thousands gathered outside Dallas City Hall. News crews from every major network surrounded the stage. Armed police stood guard. Jasmine took the podium, her mother holding her hand tightly for support. She spoke without notes. Her voice cracked at first, then grew stronger with every word. "To the man who calls me unfit and dangerous," she began, pausing as the crowd hushed. "You're right about one thing. I am dangerous, to people like you. Dangerous because I refuse to bow. Dangerous because I believe in a country where no one has to fear speaking the truth." The crowd erupted into cheers, but across the country Trump was live tweeting furiously, lying Jasmine playing victim, pathetic, total fraud. Jasmine ignored it. Her voice rang out. "You can threaten me, you can threaten my family, but I will not be silent, not today, not ever." At Mar-a-Lago, Trump threw his phone across the room, shattering it. "She's making me look weak," he yelled. "Do something, leak more, dig up dirt. I don't care what it takes, take her down." An advisor hesitated. "Sir, she's winning public sympathy. Attacking her again might backfire." "Backfire?" Trump's face turned scarlet. "You don't get it. If I lose control of the narrative, I lose everything. Meanwhile, Jasmine sat in her hotel room surrounded by flowers, letters, and thousands of messages of support. But one envelope stood out. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper. You've been warned. Next time we come inside. Jasmine's hands went cold. Was this her final warning, or a promise? It started with a knock at 3 a.m. Not at Jasmine's home, but her mother's. A neighbor called screaming, "There are men outside! They're pounding on her door!" Jasmine bolted upright, heart racing. She called her mother. No answer. She tried again. Voicemail. Panic set in like ice in her veins. She was still dialing when her phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "We told you. You didn't listen." She didn't hesitate. She grabbed her keys, her aide shouting after her, "Jasmine, you can't go alone. It could be a trap." But she was already gone, speeding through empty streets, praying over and over, "Please God, let her be okay." As she turned the corner, she saw it. 3 men in hoodies sprinting away from her mother's house. A window shattered, smoke rising. Firefighters doused the small blaze before it spread. Her mother stood outside, wrapped in a blanket, trembling but alive. Jasmine held her tight, whispering through tears, "I'm so sorry, Mom. This is because of me." Her mother pulled back, eyes fierce despite the tears. "No, Jasmine. This is because of him. Don't you dare let him scare you into silence." The next morning, Jasmine went live on national television. Her voice was raw, her hands still trembling. "To the cowards who came in the night, I see you, and I'm not afraid." She looked straight into the camera. "And to the man who calls me unfit and dangerous, thank you. You've reminded me why I must keep fighting. Not just for me, but for every person watching who's ever been told to shut up and know their place." Social media exploded. Hashtags trended worldwide. "We stand with Crockett, unfit and dangerous." Even some of Trump's former allies began breaking ranks. 2 weeks later, Jasmine walked into Congress to deliver a speech now called "The Stand" by millions online. Her voice didn't shake. Her hands didn't tremble. She spoke of courage, of fear, of how democracy only survives when ordinary people stand up. By the time she finished, the chamber erupted in applause, even from those who once opposed her. Outside, thousands of supporters chanted her name. Children held signs. Unfit, dangerous, courageous. Back at Mar-a-Lago, Trump sat alone, scrolling through the endless clips of Jasmine's speech. His face was pale. His fingers hovered over his phone, but for the first time, he didn't tweet. Jasmine stood on the Capitol steps, tears glinting in her eyes as she whispered to herself, "This isn't the end. It's the beginning." If this story moved you, if you believe in standing up to bullies, even when your knees are shaking, don't let this moment fade. Leave a comment with the words, "I will stand." Like this video to show the world we won't be silenced. And subscribe for more stories that remind us all of the power of courage. Together we can be unfit, dangerous, and unstoppable.